How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. We got a ton of stuff to talk about on the show today. We'll try to take phone calls and such. Maybe a lot of text messages we'll see. There's just a million things to get into. To start, the trial of the century will be wrapping up soon. Lawyers for Dr. Christopher Amon in closing arguments this morning have asked for in excess of $4 million in damages from defendants Phil Brooks, CM Punk, and Scott Colton, Colt Cabana. Lawyers for Amon broke it down to $3.989 million in damages, $1 for every person who downloaded the Art of Wrestling podcast episode, plus additional punitive damages. The WrestleZone website covered the story from the courthouse. Observer sources close to the case confirmed the plaintiffs were seeking in excess of $4 million. The defamation trial itself ended yesterday with testimony from AJ Lee, the wife of Punk, who testified she had seen the lump in question as early as August of 2013, when the two first got together, and testimony from Punk's massage therapist, who said she saw the lump on January 30th, 2014, and described it as golf ball or tennis ball sized. 90 minutes of closing arguments today, and now we wait to see what the jury decides. So we can talk more about that here today. We have got the Best of the Super Juniors finale, Takahashi versus Ishimori. What'd you think about that match? I could talk a lot about that today. Full lineup for Dominion, which is coming up this weekend. We got Dominion with the Okada Omega Best of Three Falls match, and also CM Punk is fighting a journalist this coming Saturday night, his second fight, Mike Jackson. Not the famous Crockett Jobber. Otherwise, Punk would be in real trouble. We got a new president and CEO of the XFL. It is, I guess we could talk about it. I guess it's the president and CEO. I actually have to look at this story. Trust me, XFL news not high on my list of priorities today. We got AAA booking Madison Square Garden, Dana White getting rid of early weigh-in, so much stuff to talk about. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. Back here in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. I actually shut down the phones for a while. Maybe we'll start these phones later on here today, but there's too much news to talk about here. I didn't even mention...
Before you even begin with this, hold on. Before you even begin, apologize to Mike Jackson.
What are you talking about?
You called him a jobber.
Well, Mike, he was a jobber.
No, he was not. He was an enhancement talent, and he was the guy that got the jobbers for that show. Mike Jackson, the longest reigning Alabama junior heavyweight champion of all time.
He may still be.
I think he is. He's had. Let me tell you something.
Let me say something here. Let me say something here first, Mike. Now that you mention that, I am still the Texarkana television champion. So listen. I'm very confident about this Rock and Roll Express match coming up July 14th, Crown Point, Indiana. Myself and Filthy Tom Lawler versus the Rock and Rolls. Maybe it's going to be the only time, but let me tell you something. If Black Label Pro, I don't want to look ahead of my opponents. You never want to look ahead of your opponents. But if Black Label Pro can book myself against Mike Jackson, Action Mike Jackson, not the journalist, I'm talking the real deal, I will put my Texarkana television title on the line against his Alabama junior heavyweight title.
Dude.
What do you think about that?
Let me tell you something. You may regret that you ever said that. You may be eating your words. If Kirby Alexander...
Dude, I may regret the Rock and Rolls. Not going to lie.
Well, you at least get to hide behind Tom for that one. But if Kirby Alexander's in somewhere at a gas station picking up his lunch, because, he's the kind of guy that would eat a sandwich from a gas station, he might want to get on this and actually look ahead.
I want to mention one other thing before I get into the news. It's your fault you brought this up, but... If you go to my Twitter, at Bryan Alvarez, stick it up there at the top. The Rock and Roll Express, they cut a promo on me. And maybe I should play this during the break, or after the break. Yeah, they did. But here's the whole key. Ricky Morton said that I should have stayed retired. And you know what? He's damn right I should have stayed retired. Because now I'm out of retirement, and I am going to retire the Rock and Roll Express.
Man, out of retirement, out of the cage, here comes Bryan Alvarez.
That's right, I'm fired up. I had a 5-hour energy before the show because I didn't sleep last night.
How's your chop hand? Is it strong?
Oh, actually, I got tendonitis in my chopping arm, so I'm trying to deal with that before the match. I'm not going to lie to the people. I have an injury going in, but I'm gonna get over it. Okay,
you worry
enough
about
of this
that being
stuff.
so
I got
lazy?
big news here today. We got so much stuff I don't want to waste time.
Oh, okay,
first off,
bad.
we
What's
have been
so big?
following the trial of the century now for weeks, and it's wrapping up at any time with Dr. Christopher Amon asking in excess of $4 million in damages from
Wait a second.
Phil Brooks and Scott Colton, CM Punk and
Wait,
Colt Cabana.
$4 million. How did they come up with
I'll
a
tell ya.
figure of $4 million?
There's $3.9 million in damages alone, and then he wants $1. Actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. The $3.98 million is $1 for every person who downloaded the podcast. So, like, as far as I know, I mean, that number could be going up as we speak if other people are listening right now. And also, he wants additional punitive damages. Now, I want to say something about this very quickly, because there's a lot of comedy involved in this. We've been reading about the lump and everything else. But here's the deal with this thing, okay? Like, I know somebody on the board made a very good point. I apologize, I forget who it was, but they said, anybody who thinks that one side or the other is like cruising their way to victory, they're wrong. Because this is going to be in the hands of a jury. And yesterday, Dave said, man, you know, it's looking good for CM Punk because, you know, AJ Lee and Punk's massage therapist and other people have confirmed that there was a lump and that it was a somewhat large lump. Not the size of a baseball, okay?
What the hell was he talking about with that?
But here's the deal. Clearly there was a lump. That's not the issue here.
Yeah.
The issue here is whether CM Punk defamed Dr. Amon. And what CM Punk said was, I had what I believe to be a staph infection on my back, and it was the size of a baseball. Dr. Amon wouldn't do anything about it, this numbskull. And finally I had to have it drained by somebody else, and pus shot 10 feet in the air, and it was excruciating pain and all. There's a whole deal that he said on the podcast, okay? Now, Dr. Amon's side is, listen, you know, I knew nothing about this being a staph infection or everything, blah, 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 blah. If this was not a staph infection, not MRSA, merely a cyst, and it was a small cyst on the guy's back, and it ended up being lanced, and away we go. I mean, this jury could very well determine that this guy was defamed. That CM Punk saying that he's a terrible doctor and he should have got rid of this staff and he didn't, and he had to have somebody else do it. I mean, if it turns out, and there is a text message from CM Punk to his wife that I swear, I'd have to go through all of this, there's days of testimony, but I could have sworn there's a text message where Punk tells her that it appears to be a cyst.
Well, and by the way, neither one of them know what a doctor is, apparently, either.
Well, that's another story entirely, but point of all of this is, it's a very long trial. There's a lot of talk about lumps. I mean, the judge has seemed to be very short-tempered. The jury, sometimes it appears they're ready to fall asleep.
The judge doesn't feel like he has time for this incredibly enthralling and landmark case.
You know what? It's not only that, but the more I read, okay, I'm reading. I'm not there in the courtroom having to sit through this all day. The more I read, the more I don't have any idea what's going on. You know what I mean?
Just color in the pictures.
I'm lost at this point. Like, who wants what? What's the point here? Like, you know what I mean? If I were a juror, it's just, there's too much information. I don't even know what I'm supposed to think.
I don't know if it's even too much information. It's a bunch of, I don't know. I'm not
What am I supposed to, if I'm a juror, like, what am I supposed to be doing here?
You're supposed to be figuring out if
okay, so he has a lump.
Defamed.
Like, was the guy defamed? Was the guy exaggerating? Was it, like, what am I supposed to do here?
I don't know.
I'm saying that as someone only reading. Imagine being in the courtroom. So the point of this is,
well, I would hope they have a better view than we do on the outside. Let's hope so, because if it's any more scattered than what we're getting, I mean, you know, talk about 12 angry people.
All I know is we don't know what this jury's going to decide. I mean, they very well could say, you know what? Dr. Amon, we believe that CM Punk did defame...
CM Funk. That's going to be somebody's new name on the indies.
Listen, they could decide that he did in fact defame Dr. Amon. But Dr. Amon does not deserve anything in damages. They could deserve that. They could
give him the $1 like the USFL got.
They could. I mean,
$3 it ended up being, I think, with inflation.
I got to figure something out for your mic. It's peeking all over. But anyway, they could decide anything. They could give Amon $1. They could give him on $4 million. They could give him on $10 million. They could say, you know what? Man, if you Google Dr. Aman, this is all that comes up. And so if he ever leaves WWE, he may have problems getting a job or getting, they could decide anything. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it is, in fact, the wrestling trial of the century so far.
$3,989,000. $1 for every person who downloaded that Art of Wrestling podcast, plus additional punitive damages, I guess. I'm not sure the 11,000 and change that they're getting for punitive damages, how that all shakes out, but
we've also got two big shows this weekend. CM Punk is fighting, so like tomorrow he should start doing media.
that ought to be a joy.
Well, it depends. If he wins, he'll probably have a great media week. If he loses, he's not going to want to talk to the media. So there's that this weekend. Him against not Action Mike Jackson, but the other Mike Jackson, who is in fact a journalist, but in fact has more experience than CM Punk. Although
he also got beat up by Mickey Gall.
They both got killed by the same guy. So this is the match that should have been made. We also have the
just be a three-way with Sage. Maybe Sage Northcutt could run in or break out from like underneath the ring.
We'll see. We also got Dominion, Okada Omega for the IWGP title, best of 3 falls. Naito versus Jericho for the Intercontinental title. Ospreay Tanahashi for the junior title, and a number of other matches. We can talk.
Ospreay Tanahashi.
Takahashi. Hiromu Takahashi. He, of course, beat Taiji Shimori in the best of the Super Junior finals, which was one of those matches that was absolutely unbelievable, but it's very difficult to watch it without... You can't watch it and not think that Takashi's going to be dead one of these days. I mean, he will one of these days, but I mean, you watch that match and it's just insanity.
A shortened career, let's say.
We can talk about this more after the break. Back in a moment. Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. We got a lot of news to get into. Everyone's asking about Raw. Here's the way the show works, everybody. I get like a ton of text messages. And so whatever people are asking about, I figure that's what people want us to talk about. So, basically...
Okay, wait, before you go on, because, look, expand a little bit. For those who didn't have a chance, the dummies that aren't members of WrestlingObserver.com and listening to Wrestling Observer Radio, can you expand a little bit on your thoughts on Takahashi, please?
Oh, I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a moment here. We'll do that. We'll do that now, then we'll get to Raw.
Yeah.
Because I got some stuff I got to say about Raw, but...
Which is exactly like the show with Dave last night, because why do you really want to talk about Raw when you can talk about Takahashi?
Well, I hate to say it, but, I mean, Raw pays the bills, even though it sucks.
That's true. And so, Dave did overrate that match last night. I'm sorry, as great as the Ishimori-Takahashi match was, in my opinion... I mean, he's acting as though it was top 10 of all time, and I'm not saying that...
Well, he said it was one of the top 10 he'd ever seen. It's everyone's opinion. But
and
yes.
That's absolutely the case. I was surprised, though, but it was very, very good.
This match was spectacular. I mean, it was not one of the 10 best matches I've ever seen, but I mean, it's probably one of the 10 best matches of the year for sure, and who even knows where it's going to finish. But the problem is there have been so many great matches that I can't look at this one and just go, this blows away everything. Hiromu Takahashi is unbelievably talented. Taiji Shimori is unbelievably talented. They went in there and just had a blow-away match. And, you know, one of the reasons... Let me explain something about Dave's ratings, everybody. Dave will watch a match, and it's not just about the moves and the story and the crowd, but he kind of looks at it like, what could this match mean historically? And if you look at the way that the fans reacted to Hiromu Takahashi... and the way that they got into this match, and the way they reacted when he won, I mean, I'd say the same thing. Like, Takahashi's always been, like, a beloved guy since he came back, and really, really spectacular, and he's had great matches, but you watch this match, this Best of the Super Juniors finals, and the reaction to him and the reaction afterwards, and, like, he is a made man. He is a top guy. He is, like, one of the 3 most popular guys in all. He may be the 2nd most popular guy behind Naito in New Japan right now. Okay? So it is kind of a historical match in that sense. He won the Best of the Super Juniors. This was his big coronation after coming back from his excursion. So yeah, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, it's more than just a match. There's all of that other stuff that goes along with it. But I've seen so many great matches. And as a fan, I hate to always go back to this, but I get a little taken out of a match when guys almost die. They did a spot where, and this wasn't even the worst spot. The worst spot actually was at the end of the match where Takahashi takes this clothesline. And I can't even explain, you have to see it to understand how horrible this bump was. He landed on not the top of his head, okay? Not the very back of his head, but like the crown of his head. And then his upper body kept going, but his lower body folded over and his feet like it. It was the worst clothesline bump I've ever seen in my entire life. I swear to God, it was the worst clothesline bump I've ever seen. Then he kicked out at 1 and he had to keep going. So, dude, like, I just watched a Misawa match with Filthy Tom, and, like, he landed on his head a lot. But, dude, these guys are landing on their necks. You got to understand that, like, these matches are all on New Japan World. Do you understand? So, like, every time that a Takahashi is out there or a Will Ospreay, like, they know that the whole world, all New Japan fans, all 10,000 or there's 100,000 subscribers of New Japan World. Like, 10, I don't even know what the number here is in the US, but, like, every one of these matches is on New Japan World. And they're out there landing on their necks every single night. And Misawa took one suplex and died. Internal decapitation. Because he'd landed on his neck too many times. It wasn't even like a terrible bump that he took when he died. Because, and you know, who even knows what happened with Paraguayo Jr.? Paraguayo Jr. got sent into the ropes like a million guys have done to get set up for a 619. He died! So, it's not like it's when your neck has been damaged after bump after bump after bump, you take a back suplex and you get an internal decapitation and you die. I don't want to see that, okay? On top of that, like, did he really need to reverse a power bomb and literally take a Frankensteiner and tumble all the way down the stairs, the concrete steps?
If you ask him, yes. To anybody else, we've seen this with Benoit. We've seen it with other guys who have. No, it's again. It's not a good idea. But then again, Takahashi has got his views on what good ideas are, and I mean, he and Dragon Lee, just alone with what they've done, it is spectacular, it is awe-inspiring. And you look back in hindsight, it's like so much of that in those matches just didn't need to be done. And I'm not ripping them. I know some people love that. They're putting themselves, you don't care because it's not you, and they're doing it for your entertainment. It's just, as Bryan said, I'm one of those that at times, it takes me out. It does it.
So anyway, that's my thoughts on the match. I mean, the match was just out of this world. I was trying to go through and find my Best of the Super Juniors notes from the finals.
And you know what, with Ishimori too, and I'm guessing this, we'll have to see what happens. I am not as enthralled with Ospreay as a lot of people are, and I love his athletic talent. I believe me, it's not like I hate watching him or anything like that, but if this is just going to be about can you top this, you know, I guess maybe we need this, and that's what makes matches like Kushida and Sho stand out, you know, so much more sometimes when they do them. But it's just, I do worry about, like, you know, the can you top this, you know, mentality of both of those guys doing something, again, completely insane, because where else can Takahashi take it? I mean, it is almost incredible. It is incredible.
I guess I found my notes here. So, I mean, the match was spectacular, the finals, but I watched the block finals, and just to go through some of the matches here, I thought the Desperado Dragon Lee match was just great.
That was great.
Dragon Lee was so great. Nobody got killed. Dragon Lee does do some crazy stuff, but I mean, there was nothing where, like, I thought, oh my God, somebody's going to die. I mean, I didn't think that Will Ospreay and Flip Gordon was like a blowaway match. Part of the problem is I was a gymnast, and so, like, flips don't impress me. You understand? Like, I don't want to sound like an elitist or anything like that, but they do a bunch of flips. They flipped over the top and landed on their feet. Like, it doesn't blow me away. I want to see good professional wrestling. If you can do good professional wrestling and do flips and put it in the context of a great match, then I'm all for that. I'm not against flips in wrestling, but I'm not impressed with just flips. But it was a very good match. The Ishimori-Yo match I thought was great. Nobody killed themselves. Sho and Marty Skrull I thought was great. Nobody killed themselves. And the Takahashi-Kushida match I thought was a very, very good match. There was one absolutely horrifying pile driver where I think it was Takahashi that dropped Kushida on his head. Kushida always lands on his head. I wish he'd stop.
He does. It seems to be like a thing now in every match. I don't think it's intentional, but it's like you have that spot where it's like, oh my God, he's dead.
Yeah, I thought all of those matches were fantastic. Just fantastic matches, and nobody had to die. So, I don't know. I don't want to be too hard on it, because, I mean...
like ACH does, and again, everybody's different. It's just, again, and it's everybody's threshold for what they like or what takes them out of something or what gets them into something. Everybody's going to be different. But again, it's like, you watch Dragon Lee against anybody and how great he is. And it's like, against Hiromu, yeah, they take it to another level, but it's like, I don't know. It's like everybody faces Hiromu. It is terrifying. Sometimes he is so spectacular to watch, but he does all of these things and lands on the floor and lands in such, bizarre and painful looking ways that it's not like it doesn't matter what his future is to me. I'm not paying his bills. He's not paying mine. But as a fan, it is, I wish he wouldn't do it so often.
Hey, look, we got a bunch of texts about the best of the Super Juniors. We didn't yesterday, probably because nobody had watched it yet, but now people have.
So you stop it.
First thing, are you saying winning the Super Juniors is bigger than winning the title?
Well, time, place, and situation.
Yeah.
It's somebody beating Okada right now is going to be bigger than anything you can do anywhere, but there are times where, winning something...
I think he's saying, like, do you feel that Takahashi winning the best of the Super Juniors is a bigger deal than him winning the IWGP Junior title?
Well, we'll have to see, but yeah, as of this moment, yes. As of this second, yes.
And I got to say, like, when that match was over, it's like, this man must beat Ospreay. He's got to go all the way with this guy.
Well, yeah, and look how many people going in. I mean, it was one of those people with Ishimori. I mean, you have all of these moving pieces there, and yeah, they have been building with the Hiromu thing for a while, but it's not like there was any guarantee he was going to get it. They had enough doubt in there, and by the end of the match, I mean, the way they took that crowd, this was the ultimate win for Hiromu right now.
Bert says the best of the Super Junior finals were excellent. A fine show indeed. This person here says, I know Ospreay is a Super Junior, but why is the champ in the tournament when we know the most likely outcome is a match versus the champ? That's just what they do.
Yeah.
And the champ can win. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it can happen. This person here says, do you think it's time for Omega to finally beat Okada? Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that the title should change. It's the fourth match. I mean, who else is there for Okada? He's broken every record, and you put the title on Omega, and you got rematches you can do if need be down the road. You got a whole new set of challengers and a bunch of new matches for the heavyweight title. So there are a lot of options. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Still just doing the news and the text messages because there's a lot to get into. Should mention Raw very quickly. Pretty bad last night. Nia Jax and Natty was just terrible.
Ugh.
Oh my God, it was horrible. There's no way that Ronda Rousey Nia Jax match goes longer than 90 seconds. There's just no way. Unless it's 2 minutes. Then I guess there is a way. But Natty had 7 minutes with Nia Jax, and it was so horrible. And of course, everyone on our board is blaming... It's like back in the day where, Kurt Angle had a great match with Mark Henry, and so everybody thought Mark Henry was great. Now, Nia has a bad match with Natty, and everyone blames Natty.
What?
I mean, yeah. It's a giant threat on the board that Natty sucks, and that's why the match was bad. Meanwhile, Nia's the one who... I swear to God, Natty goes for a headbutt, or like a bulldog. Nia doesn't even go down. She bends forward. Her head is like 3 feet off the mat. Natty lands on the ground, and then Nia sells it anyway and falls down. I'm like, what's going on here? And how in the world is that Natty's fault?
Well, I don't know. We could have had Ronda explain it on commentary, but oh wait, that didn't help issues at all. And then know what really didn't help issues later on was the long camera after Natty limped away out of the trainer's
They always do that.
I know, but it's like it's extra bad because Ronda's really only got two expressions anyway, for the most part, which is kind of like the lost sad face staring out into the distance, and then like, you know, angry bitch face where she's about to rip your face off. Like, that's pretty much it. So between that and then Nia standing on the other side, and isn't Nia, I know she's not a heel, but she is a heel, but when did she and Natty become,
don't even
really
get me
such good
started.
friends?
Don't even get me started.
What's going on here?
Nia did a great babyface turn leading into Mania. Then they decided they were going to do a Ronda Rousey program. So for the last like 3 or 4 weeks, she's absolutely totally been a heel. Then suddenly, she's a heel last night. Natty is running the ropes and she blows out her knee. And instead of being concerned for her, Nia grabs her, hoists her up, hits the Samoan drop and pins her. Okay? Heel finish. But then she's very concerned about her friend Natty. And she just like transforms into a babyface. Ronda comes down, and like, if Nia is a heel, it makes sense for Ronda to tell her to get out of the ring. She got hurt, and you still pinned her. Like, get out of here. You're a jerk. Instead, Nia has to pretend, I'm really concerned about Natty. Oh my gosh, I just want to be here with her. So Ronda's telling her to get out of the ring. Now, Ronda comes across as a heel and unlikable. I mean, the whole thing, it was one of the worst segments of the year. I don't care what anybody says. And...
Yeah. Put this up on my Twitter here, this long lost look from both of these women. There we go.
And everyone's can you explain why Ronda's husband would say she's ripe for the picking, which he mentioned twice on commentary?
Maybe she's got, I'll just say it, maybe she was just feeling herself and wanted to feel her man and wanted to be ripe for the picking with her man. Maybe she was just sending that out there on the air. Why else?
Somebody thought it was a funny line and they made her say it twice. That was the worst part.
Rhonda, just listen to me.
Constable Corbin, this person says, actually a really fitting role for somebody who loves to fight the so-called keyboard warriors who complain about the product. Hey, listen, we don't need another heel authority figure, but Baron Corbin, as a guy who mostly is being sarcastic backstage and not in the ring, fine.
That's great.
Okay? Fine. There's a lot worse roles for Baron Corbin.
I want Baron Corbin union leader. That's what I want. Honest to God, him as... Look, Wade Barrett I thought was fantastic in the role of just a big jerk, but like Baron Corbin, I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a space for him somewhere, and I still have no idea what it is exactly, because it's not like I really love seeing him in the ring or anything like that. But there's something there as a personality that just, you've got to be able to utilize this guy somehow.
First here says, the biggest news of today is actually that the main event of Triple Mania will have L.A. Park and Pentagon Jr. in it. Forget Pentagon Jr. If L.A. Park this year manages to be in the main event of Triple Mania and also the CMLL anniversary show, how is he not in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Hello? Like, how is he not already? But I mean, that's just going over the deal there. I got a couple of other news notes I got to get into. There's a lot of stuff here. So, appearing on the UFC Unfiltered podcast, Dana White was asked if the early weigh-ins were to blame for the weight problems his fighters have been having. Well, yeah. It's patently obvious. You can go back and look at the before and after, and there are way more people missing weight now than before they did the morning weigh-ins. He says, yes, we're getting rid of it. We're looking at taking the weigh-ins back to the way they used to be. So when the guys weigh in there at the ceremonial weigh-ins, that'll be it. That'll be the real weigh-ins. No more early weigh-ins. So at least we'll have less people missing weight. I don't know. I'm over the weigh-in stuff, but he says here, anytime you change something, everybody looks to take as much advantage as they can of the situation. I think that when we started doing morning weigh-ins, it was very good. Everybody was making weight. Everything was great. Oh, yeah? I don't remember that. Then people started cutting it closer and closer and closer, thinking they could put on more weight because they have more time to recover. And the reality is it screwed everything up. So we're going back to the 4 p.m. weigh-ins. Those will be the real weigh-ins.
Christ, the problem's not with the weigh-ins. The problem's with cutting weight, period. And
well, sure, but I mean, the morning weigh-ins, way more people were hospitalized after that than before.
Yeah, still, USADA wants to send doctors to people's house and test them. They can come at like 5:30 in the morning or whatever. Why don't you do year-round where you can actually test these guys and get their doctors to get their real weights and actually maybe go through that and go through the however many years you think it'll take to, start that process. And you know what? Even if you did that, it doesn't matter because there's always going to be a guy out there that wants to get an advantage and is going to push their body. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's getting to the point of I don't know how much more you can do and how much more you can play with this. If people just want to risk their body like that, much like with supplements and everything else, I mean, they're just going to do it. And at some point, I'm not saying you have to throw your hands up, but I'm not sure how much we can really care.
We got this from PW Insider. September, AAA has a hold on Madison Square Garden.
Slow down.
The actual 20,000-seat arena.
The bowl, baby.
Yes.
The Mecca.
WWE would technically have the right of first refusal on the date based on their agreement. However, MSG management not happy that WWE has been running the majority of their events in the New York market at the Barclays Center.
That's true.
Well, maybe they shouldn't charge so much money. Then maybe that wouldn't happen.
It's the most famous arena in the world, pal.
Tipping point appears to have been WWE making the decision to run all of their Mania 35-week events at Barclays, leaving MSG out in the cold.
That was a surprise in hindsight now, with people that have brought up All In 2 and Cody's words and things like that. Look, WWE, if they ever wanted to stop anybody from being there, they most certainly could do so because they have all the money in the world and they would just schedule more events there, making the Garden happy, and things would all work out nicely. But it did make me think about the fact that with everything that went on, there really was nothing. And I understand that the Barclays Center, because of how it's set up and all the advantages to it, including it being a more cost-effective building to run, is the place that most people are going to be. And the Garden understands that too. But for them to have nothing there and for them, the Dolans and everybody to not be able to reach an agreement on something and some sort of cross-marketing, that really was a surprise.
Hey, I got an idea. They got a $2.3 billion TV deal. Just buy MSG.
Well, they don't have that kind of money.
My new theory is they should just buy everything.
Well,
did you hear my Brock Lesnar idea last night?
You know what?
It's my most brilliant idea I've ever had.
Wait, what? Who? Brock Lesnar?
Yes.
Well,
okay,
good.
So, Brock and Roman was the main event of WrestleMania. And it had been built up for a year. And the whole idea was Brock is going to beat everybody, all of the top stars, with one F5, and then Roman's going to kick out of the F5, and he's going to win the title from Brock Lesnar. And according to Dave, the reason after a full year that they did not change the title was because they were concerned that Roman was going to get booed at WrestleMania. Now, obviously, he's been booed everywhere for 4 years. You thought that maybe he was going to get cheered at WrestleMania? You think that he might get cheered in the New York market at SummerSlam? Exceedingly unlikely. But my idea is this. Since they have so much money, Brock Lesnar is flown to every single show that Roman Reigns works. Every single one of them. When you finally find a building where Roman Reigns is cheered by everybody, change the title. Lo and behold, you got the guy cheered. Now, of course, the next day he's going to get booed again, and the day after that. But this way, you can guarantee that he's going to get a babyface pop when he wins the title. You don't have to roll the dice and go, man, maybe we can get this guy cheered at the Barclays Center. Don't got to worry about it. Take Brock Lesnar on the road. If there's a house show in Everett and everybody loves Roman Reigns, trot out Brock Lesnar and beat him. Roman Reigns, your champion, showed on TV, and that's the deal. Why not? Brock will take the money.
He will definitely. Well, I don't know if he wants to go and do all that flying and all that traveling.
He will for the money. If they say,
after a while,
we're going to give you $1 million. We're going to give you $1 million every single event that you go to, Brock, until we find the one where Roman is cheered. What, he's going to turn down $1 million a day? He doesn't have to work. He has to sit in the back and eat catering. He can eat those tacos from Raw last night. And he has to work one day when they find the right building. Well, he'd do it. I guarantee he'd do it.
I'm still now thinking about you having the McMahons by MSG, and if they're allowing Charles Oakley back into the building, I guess I'd be all for that.
They can buy MSG. They can pay Brock Lesnar for every show to go to. They can buy a rental car for everybody.
Now, do they buy just the arena, or do they buy all of the properties?
May as well buy New York while they're at it.
The entire city of New York?
I guess they can't afford that. You may be right. Alrighty, a couple of text messages here. First says, WCW tried to buy everything. Didn't end well. I think there is a book about this. Well, yeah, but I mean, here's something you got to remember about WCW. In their best year ever...
They were still a dumpster fire.
Nah, I forget the exact amount, but it was like, I think in their best year ever, they grossed like $225 million. WWE is going to gross $1 billion. It ain't even close. It's not even close. Not to mention, WWE actually makes profits. They were losing $80 million. I mean, the point is, they're not going to buy MSG. This is stupid. I'm just kidding.
No, they're
not going to buy a car for everybody.
They need to run into the ground first with Andrew Luck's dad.
They're not going to buy a car for everybody in every city. But the point of this is, they ain't losing money. They're swimming in profits. This is not WCW.
Like Scrooge McDuck style.
Person says, is it petty for Madison Square Garden to be upset with WWE not running televised shows when it costs WWE so much to run those shows in the building? Well, you could argue that. But I mean, they'd argue that...
a natural ego there. The Garden is the Garden. Because idiots like me who still, Madison Square Garden still means something. And definitely to the people that own it and run it or that are around there, believe me, it means something to them too. And the Barclays has attracted a lot of stuff and it's caused them a lot of headache. And that's just the way it goes. But they got the look, Madison Square Garden is still the Mecca until otherwise noted. So they're going to have that ego.
Burr says, Brock would likely do this all summer, but come hunting season, he might not want to travel so much.
Exactly.
Well, I hope they can find one building between now and hunting season where Roman gets cheered. He got cheered last night. Should just change the title last night on Raw. Roman would have gotten cheered. Guaranteed. And this person says, what will CM Punk get if he wins the trial? He's going to get his face smashed in by Mike Jackson. That's what he's going to get. I don't know. Back in a moment, Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. This person here says, after Rey Mysterio makes his debut in a six-man at Dominion, who do you think his first singles opponent will be? Man, I mean, he may not have many. He may be going to WWE soon. Yeah. I guess he could probably face Liger at the Cow... Who did he challenge at the Cow Palace? Was it Liger?
I think
or was it Ospreay?
Liger. Oh, wait.
Might have been Ospreay. Anyway, he could do that singles match, and then he may be on his way to WWE. We'll see. They've been talking to him. Looks great. They can afford it. It's working well. So, we'll see.
And he's a star. I mean, boy, I know Graham Metalik will never be the star that Rey Mysterio Jr. is in the United States, but when you never give him a chance to show his wares, it's too bad. It's too bad.
Bird says you should make Vinny watch last night's Raw. I'd love to hear its finishers report. Yeah, this was like the old days.
Don't do this to him.
One horrible finish after another, including a DQ in the main event for kicking too much ass. Vinny's favorite finish. Just ridiculous.
And he's scared of heights, folks. Kevin
Owens afraid of heights.
He can jump off the top rope with a big-ass frog splash, but he can't do the same on a ladder. He'll fall off.
I can't guarantee, but like when I saw that, I was like, Kevin Owens is winning. Either like it's a ruse and he just flies up there and grabs a briefcase, or they want you to think he's scared and he has help, or I don't know. But I think he's winning. Anyway, we're out of time, everybody. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Sports Byline USA, sportsbyline.com for the entire schedule. I want to thank Mike, as always, callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.